Alrighty, hello everyone. We're just gonna give it a minute for some people to join and then we'll get started. All right, I'm gonna get started. Before we start the webinar, we're gonna just give a quick intro. So hi everyone, my name is Maddie. I am a network assistant here at the Career Enrichment Network. Thank you so much for attending our budgets and life after graduation workshop. We're so excited to hear from our friends at Financial Literacy. But before we get started, I've got some quick events that I just wanted to share with you guys. If you're not aware, this week is Graduating Students Week here at the Career Enrichment Network. So all week long, we've been having different workshops and events geared towards graduating students and getting you guys ready for life after graduation. So I'm just going to go over what we have going on the rest of the week, but the full schedule of events is at that link at the bottom of the screen if you want to check that out. There we go. Okay, so obviously today we have budgets and life after graduation. But tomorrow we have still job searching, what to do next. And we will be discussing strategies for how to continue your job search as you approach graduation, as well as how the Alumni Career Services can help you after you graduate. They'll be the ones presenting. So that'll be at 2:15 via Zoom tomorrow. So definitely check that out. And if you are graduating, we ask that you fill out the post-grad survey and share your plans for graduation or for after graduation, as well as your involvement during your time here at Penn State. This information is super helpful for us, so we really appreciate you taking the time to fill it out. So while you're scanning that QR code, just a reminder that this workshop will be recorded, and I encourage you to ask questions through the Q&A feature or through the chat. I'll be monitoring it, and at the end, we'll do a little Q&A session. But yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to Alice from Financial Literacy. She's going to be presenting today. And yeah, I'm going to stop sharing. Alice, go ahead.
Sounds good. I'll share my screen real quick and do a little intro. Can everybody see my screen? Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Alice Vainblatt. I'm currently a graduate assistant for the Financial Literacy Center on campus. We're located in the basement of the Grange building. If you don't know where the Grange building is, it's right next to the hub. And so I'm currently getting my one-year MBA at SMEAL, and I got my undergrad from Penn State also from the College of IST in IST. So if you guys have any questions related to this presentation or my experience at Penn State, feel free to drop them in the chat box and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So to dive in, this presentation primarily focuses on information that's really helpful for after graduation and some things that you should be thinking about as you're slowly approaching your graduation, or if you are graduating in the next year or the following year. So real quickly, just to go over some of the services we offer at our center. We have one-on-one appointments that you can book through Starfish. These appointments can range on a variety of financial topics related to budgeting, personal finance, credit cards, debt management, student loans, all that fun stuff. And these one-on-one appointments are basically booked with a professional staff member at our center. And everything in these appointments is confidential. So even if it's a personal finance topic that you don't feel comfortable discussing, this Q&A at the end, you're more than welcome to do that in a one-on-one appointment. We also have group presentations like this one, as well as many others on a variety of personal finance topics. And we also have these presentations in webinar form. So if you want to go check out our YouTube channel, that you can access through our website. We have plenty of different clips of previous presentations for several different topics. We also have self-study modules that you can access through Canvas through our website. These modules are basically just all the information that you would want on about 28 different personal finance topics. And instead of having to do a Google search on and trying to figure out what's actually true, what's not, you can easily just go through these self-study modules that we've created for you guys. And they will be added as a course to your Canvas page, but it's not an official course that will reflect or change anything related to your academics or grades or anything like that. We also have a mentoring program where while you're at Penn State, you'd be considered a mentee and you'd be paired up with a mentor. The mentor is someone that has recently graduated from Penn State or is in the professional business world. And they're just going to be like a friendly face and a peer buddy for you that can kind of help guide you through your experience and any financial topics that you may want to ask them about. We also have workshops coming up that you can enroll in now, as well as in the fall if you are continuing after spring semester. And these workshops are like small group hands-on experiences related to credit cards, how to create a budget, and just stuff like that. So when talking about elements of your financial well-being, your financial wellness isn't just determined by your income, how much money you're making, how high or low your credit score is. It's more so about whether you have control over your day-to-day and month-to-month finances, if you can absorb anything that could happen to you financially, being able to make the choices that you want and staying on track for your financial goals. So we really like to think of the elements of your financial well-being in two aspects, and that's with security and freedom of choice. With security, in the present day, you want to make sure you have control over the money that you're spending that's in your budget, how much money you're making, and making sure that you're able to control any expenses that you have. And for the future, you want to make sure you have security. That way you can absorb any financial shock that may occur. And this financial shock can occur whether you get an unexpected medical bill or something comes up, like say you break your phone charger and you have to buy a whole new phone charger. So it could be range from a variety of different things, and this will vary person to person. And in terms of freedom of choice, in the present day, financial freedom is really important. That way we can make the choices that we want in life to enjoy life, whether that's going to a concert with friends, traveling, buying clothes, stuff like that. And for the future, you also want to make sure you have the freedom of choice to stay on track for your financial goals. And these financial goals can either be a goal that you set for yourself to do next week, whether that's you want to sign a lease for a new apartment for the summer or fall, or if you're planning on buying a car. It could be any, like ranging from anything with that. And these financial goals, again, are going to vary from person to person. And this can either be a financial goal that is going to happen in a week, a month, a year, several years. So again, this varies between people. So before you graduate, you want to make sure that you tie up any loose ends. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have all the requirements for graduation. And the main thing is if you go into Lion Path, you can easily see if just to make sure that you're on track for graduation, you've met all the requirements to graduate. And you want to make sure that you are meeting all the requirements, because you don't want it to end up being graduation days here and you realize you can't graduate because you didn't take a class or you're missing a few credits. So you want to make sure that you're checking all of your requirements for graduation. You also want to update any forwarding information. So if you currently live on or off campus and you use that address for any of your bills or any of your mail, make sure that you update your information in Lion Path that way, as well as with whoever else you're giving your information to wherever you're moving to. That way, if they're sending you really important bills, you want to make sure that you're going to get them and it's not going to negatively impact you if they end up coming back to your old address. Also get recommendation letters. A lot of companies now are asking for recommendation letters or just someone to contact as a recommendation. And you want to get those letters now while the professors, advisors, coaches, family and friends all remember you right now. and what your work ethic is. You don't want to go 5 years down the line and try to contact a professor you had 5 years ago, because there's a good chance they're not going to remember you. So just make sure you're getting those recommendation letters now and keep them handy in case you ever need them for a job. And you also want to update your information with lenders. So if you have any loans or any debts, you want to make sure that you're updating your information with them, telling them, hey, I'm graduating on this day. So like I no longer need to take out loans. This is when I'll start giving them payments. And also make sure you're updating your address if your address is your Penn State address and it's not your primary address back home. So the main thing that's going to happen when you graduate is you're going to have to refresh your budget drastically. So while we're in college, not many students really think about budgeting, or they mostly only budget either for food or transportation or tuition, housing, all that stuff. But once you graduate, you're going to have a lot more expenses that you're going to need to consider. So your biggest expense is going to be housing. That's going to be about 30% of your budget. And the second biggest is obviously going to be food with 20%, and savings, transportation, debt, and others are going to be about 10% each, and then 5% for utilities and entertainment. So this is just a rough structure of the percentages we recommend. You obviously can change based on how much you're making, what you're spending on, but these are just some of the categories that people usually put into their budget after graduation. And you also want to make sure you're tracking your spending habits, whether that's by the categories we listed, any other categories, or if you want to track it by periods, whether you want to have a daily budget, weekly, monthly, bi-monthly. We obviously don't recommend yearly budget just because a lot of things can happen in a year. So you want to make sure that you're refreshing your budget as like early and often as you possibly can. And we also have a budgeting worksheet that you can access on our website as well if you want to see where you can get started with a budget. And we also have these few apps that some of our student ambassadors at our center have used before for their budgets as well. Mint, Wally, and Good Budget are really good free apps you can just download on your phone and manage everything from your phone. You Need a Budget is a paid subscription app. However, as a college student, you get the first year free. So even if you decide to sign up for You Need a Budget within about like 1 day before you graduate, you'll still get a year for free as long as you're using your school email. So when refreshing your budget, you want to take into consideration what money you're actually putting into your budget. So you want to make sure you're budgeting off of your take-home pay. So your gross pay is how much money you have before taxes and other deductions. So if you have, say your company said once you start working, your salary is going to be $80,000 a year. You want to make sure you're not basing all of your expenses off of that $80,000. You want to take into consideration the taxes and the deductions that are going to be coming from that. So you want to make sure that you're using your take-home pay or your net pay, your net income for your budget. And your net pay is the wages and the amount of money that you have after taxes and deductions are taken out. So a tip we have is you want to make sure you're creating your budget based on your net income. And taxes and deductions usually vary, but they're going to be about 25 to 35% is going to be withheld from your salary and your gross pay. So make sure you're being mindful of that. And this percent ranges primarily because of where your job is located, where your home address is, and different city, state, local taxes as well. And you want to also prioritize your spending. So when creating your budget, make sure you're paying close attention to where you're overspending, or if you see that you're struggling with how much money you have left at the end of the week, month, or however much you're budgeting. So you want to make sure you're prioritizing your spending on needs and wants. So needs are obviously things that are absolutely necessary for you to live. And that obviously includes housing, food, transportation, utilities, internet, cell phone. And some of the wants primarily include takeout, any subscription services like Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, any electronics like an Xbox, a PlayStation, or any entertainment, whether that's, again, any like Netflix, Hulu, going to concerts, traveling, all that fun stuff. So you want to make sure that if you see that you're overspending, you want to see where you can start minimizing what you're spending your money on in your wants category, because obviously you can't really cut out anything from what you absolutely need. So if you see that you're overspending or you're having trouble making ends meet, just make sure that you're trying to adjust your budget and see where you can start, maybe not going out as much as you do, or canceling a few subscriptions for a little while you're trying to get back to having the amount that you want left over in terms of budgeting. So another big thing after graduation, when you get your first job offer, you want to negotiate your salary. Most of the time, companies will lowball you a decent amount for your salary because they assume that you're just fresh out of college. You don't really have any past experience to go into being like, this is like the amount of money that I'm not going to settle for. So they're going to try to give you the lower end because that ends up being less amount that they're going to pay for you. And not negotiating could leave money on the table. So, and most employers actually do expect you to negotiate, which is why they'll usually offer you lower than they're actually willing to pay you. So, for example, in this chart, with the first job, someone that comes in with $40,000, they don't negotiate their offer at all. They don't really earn that much 40 years later. But if you're someone that comes into your job with the 40,000, but you negotiate your salary up to 56,000, you can see that 40 years later, there's an exponential growth of over 1.2 million in the difference of how much money you could be earning. So don't be afraid to negotiate your salary. And negotiating isn't necessarily all about just the amount of money you are getting. You can also negotiate for better working conditions, better retirement plans, better benefits, better growth as well within the companies. That way you can advance faster, or even more vacation and sick leave. So when preparing to negotiate, the first thing that you want to do, obviously, is know yourself. Don't go into a negotiation with your boss or your supervisor, and just start spitting a bunch of facts. And they're like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, why are we even bothering having this conversation? So you want to make sure you're preparing yourself. You know what you are capable of doing, you know your background. If any of you guys have heard of an elevator pitch, this is basically your elevator pitch as to why you should be receiving what you think you should be receiving. So after knowing yourself, you want to practice expressing your value. And this is where the elevator pitch comes in. Even if it's practicing to friends, family, or honestly, anybody that's not like your boss or supervisor, it can really build up your confidence when you go into that meeting. That way you stick to what you want to negotiate and you have no issue expressing why you should be receiving the benefits that you are. Also, make sure that you're researching any market salaries. You can easily Google like different industries for that. And primarily, the reason you want to research is you don't want to go into a negotiation meeting and say, for example, the average in PA for consulting is about 80,000. And you go into that meeting, you're like, I want 140,000 to be a consultant in PA. They're going to say you're absolutely ridiculous because they know the average market salaries. So you want to make sure you go in that meeting and you give them an actual realistic number. Because they're going to ask you like a variety of different questions, like why you want this specific amount. And you want to make sure that you can leverage any research that you found about the markets and what salaries other people are earning that are doing the same job as you in the same location. So make sure when you are researching that you're not just researching the average amount for a specific job in the US or in a different country, depending on where you work. Make sure you're also looking into the specific city you are living in and working in, because that's also going to play a big role in that because of the cost of living. You also want to prioritize your negotiating points, whether that's if your main point is to have a higher salary and the last thing on your list is you don't really care about what working conditions you're going to be in. Obviously, you want to make sure you at least try to get your first or second point even in terms of negotiating. And obviously, this varies from person to person because everyone's going to negotiate for different things. So make sure you're prioritizing your points and you're getting the most that you possibly can out of what you're going into that meeting to negotiate. And finally, hopefully, if you follow these steps, you'll be able to secure the offer you wanted, or at least something that was better than what you previously had. Obviously, if they're like absolutely no way, you're not getting anything you wanted, um, there's a good chance you can also look into potential other job offers or any other jobs that could offer what you are looking for. So don't be put down if you think that just because you went out of the negotiating, you went to negotiate and you didn't get what you wanted, then that's like the end of it. So there's a lot of different tools that you can use when preparing to negotiate as well. So for saving and investing as well, this is something you want to start considering even when you're currently in college. You can start investing and saving as early as you want. This tool, this chart, and all this information, is kind of just like an example of what could happen. So if you can see here, for example, Talia, she invests about $5,000 annually between the ages of 35 and 65. So only for 30 years. So she would invest about a total of $150,000, which by the time she retires for 65, if she put it into the appropriate investing accounts, she would have about over $540,000 in savings. Just for example, if she invests $5,000 every single year for 10 years between 25 and 35, she only invests $50,000, but she could potentially be earning over $600,000. But because she started taking that money out at 35 instead of 65, she stopped investing. So she didn't have as much money as she possibly could have if she continued investing till retirement age. And for Nate, for example, he started investing about $5,000 every single year for 40 years between the ages of 25 and 65. So he ended up investing the most. However, because of how long he invested, he started saving and investing, he was able to go into retirement with over $1.1 million. And obviously, these numbers aren't like exact to the T, but this is a great representation of why you should start saving and investing early. That way, by the time retirement age comes around, you have a steady income that you can live off the rest of your life. So in terms of investing and saving, you want to make sure that you have enough money to pay for your expenses for the rest of your life. And this primarily can either come from individual retirement accounts, also known as an IRA, or employer sponsored plans. So for an IRA, there's two main types of IRAs. You can have a Roth IRA, which is money that you're contributing into this account after taxes are already taken out of it. And once you want to take this money out of your account, the withdrawals are free. So you don't have to pay taxes or any more money on the money that's in that account. So whatever money is in there, it's all yours. No taxes are going to be taken out once you start taking it out. And a traditional IRA is money that you're contributing before taxes, but the money will be taxed once you start taking it out of your account. And funds can be withdrawn for the first time when you're buying a home, or if you choose to for retirement. And employer sponsored plans, primarily majority of companies do offer some sort of employer sponsored plan. The most common type is a 401k, and this is for the majority of employers. There's obviously a bunch of different ones based on if you work at a public school system, you work for the state and local government, the federal government, or a pension if you have defined benefits. So the difference between an IRA and a 401k is for an IRA, the individual sets up the investment account. So you yourself are setting up that account for yourself, and you can contribute however much money you want into it. And the advantages to that is there's obviously potential investment growth, there's tax advantages, and you can grow your wealth. With a 401k, it's an employer sponsored retirement plan. So the employer creates the account for you. In certain companies, your employer will also contribute money into this account, but primarily it comes from a percentage of each of your paychecks. So you don't even have to think about it. It's just a percent that's taken off of your paycheck. And it has the same advantages as an IRA, again, with the potential investment growth, tax advantages, and growing your wealth. And just to differentiate a little bit between the two IRAs. So a traditional IRA, again, is your pre-tax dollars. So it's the money, it's basically your gross pay that we talked about earlier. that money is basically going into your traditional IRA, which means that your money grows tax deferred. And once you start taking the money out, that's when you start paying income tax on it. And the benefit of a traditional IRA is that it lowers your taxable income right now. So all the money that you're going to have right now is obviously going to be a little bit more than you would if you were putting money into a Roth IRA, because the money that you're going to be taxed on is going to be after you're putting money into your traditional IRA. So it does in turn lower your tax bill. However, you do have to pay taxes on it once you start taking the money out. However, with the Roth IRA, your contribution is the after-tax dollars. So after you've already paid taxes, all the deductions have been taken out, this is your net income, and you can contribute any part of your net income to a Roth IRA. Your money grows tax-free. So once you start taking the money out, there's no taxes on it whatsoever. And the withdrawal contributions, you can take the money out at any time, and you can use it for first-time home buying as well. So when considering your education expenses as students, we primarily have two main types of loans, and that's federal student loans and private student loans. So for the federal student loans, you can get more information on studentaid.gov. You can also use their loan simulator tool to estimate and explore different repayment options based on how much money you're taking out or how much money that you want to take out to pay for your tuition and college expenses. You have to make an account with your loan servicer, and obviously this varies person to person. And you have a 6-month grace period to start paying off these loans. So if you graduate this upcoming May, you have 6 months from May to start making payments on your loans. And in terms of private student loans, you want to log into your private loan servicer to find the different repayment terms, whether that's a payment plan they have set up, if there's a consolidation plan and all that stuff. And obviously this is going to vary from loan to loan because every loan has its own terms and conditions. And you want to make sure that you're building all of your student loan expenses into your monthly budget as well, because these are going to be really major amounts of money that you're going to have to start paying off after graduation. So if you choose to continue after undergrad, you want to go to grad school, whether that's right after or in a few years or years along down the line. Some things you can also consider for your education expenses include fellowships, which cover tuition and living expenses. However, they are competitive, like you do have to apply for them. Assistantships. So for me right now, I'm currently a graduate assistant at the center. So I have an assistantship right now, and they're covering my tuition, all of my costs related to the school. And these can either be teaching or research assistantships, and you can find out more based on just the university website, depending on where you choose to go, if you decide to go. Also, a lot of companies do offer employer tuition reimbursement. So if you already have a full-time job and you want to go back to grad school to get a graduate degree, some employers are willing to pay for part of it or all of your degree. That way, at the end of the day, you're coming back to the company with another certification. And you can also apply for scholarships and grants. Obviously, these are based on academic merit, financial need, or any other criteria that you may have. And even if it's a scholarship or grant for like $50 or $100, like that's $50 and $100 that you're not going to have to pay. So any amount of money in terms of scholarships and grants is helpful because that's just money that's not going to have to come out of your pocket. So really quickly, if you do decide to go to grad school, federal grad student loans are a little bit different than undergrad. So there are two main types of grad school loans, and that's the graduate unsubsidized and the graduate plus loans. So the graduate unsubsidized loans, you can get that by completing your FAFSA. They don't do a credit check. You do have an annual limit though of $20,500. So they will not give you more than that. And that is the max that they will cover. And they do also have an aggregate limit. So if you have unsubsidized loans from undergrad, then they will continue to total up until they get the $138,500. That's the absolute max you can get with an unsubsidized loan. And the graduate plus loans you have to complete the direct direct plus loan application. And they do complete a credit check, so make sure that your credit score is up there. And the annual limit for these loans is just your cost of attendance. So obviously it's going to vary from university to university and through programs. And there is no aggregate limit. So you can continue taking out these loans, but just remember, whatever you take out, you have to pay back. And the loans will remain in school deferment when enrolled in more than 6 credits, meaning that you don't have to pay these loans until you graduate. However, the 6-month grace period that I mentioned earlier, that does continue into grad school. So if you use 3 months of undergrad before you went into grad school, you will only have 3 months left within your grace period after you graduate from grad school. So make sure you're keeping that in mind if you decide to continue your education further. And talking about your credit checks and credit scores, you want to make sure that you're building a strong credit reputation. So your debt and how you manage it is reflected in your credit score. So we're all Penn State students, and obviously at the end of every semester, we get our grades and our GPAs, and our GPAs reflect how well or how bad we did within the semester. So your financial GPA is basically your credit score. So the benefits of having good credit, it can make it a lot easier to rent an apartment. I know personally for me, I've been living off campus the last 3-4 years, and my leasing agency has done a credit check every single year. So it makes it a lot easier to rent an apartment. It can also allow you to get loans, take loans out, but also have a smaller interest rate on them. So it can make it cheaper to borrow money. And in some cases, you may even be more likely to get a job if you have a good credit score, because if they see that you're responsible with your money, that shows good indications that you're able to control your financial well-being and handle basically your credit reputation. And we recommend at the center to have a score between 640 to 850. So don't freak out if you're not in the excellent range. On average, people usually tend to be around 760, but try to be within the fair and excellent range, because if you go any lower, that's not really a good sign for your future. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your credit score as high as you possibly can. And you can check your credit score through mobile banking apps. A lot of banking apps offer a free credit score, whether that's FICO or some other score. You can also go onto creditkarma.com. You just sign up, and it's a free tool where you can check your credit score, what's going into your credit score. It's just kind of a more in-depth view. There's also annualcreditreport.com. So this website will generate a credit report for you, and this will break down every single thing that's going into your credit score. So every credit card, every loan, everything that you possibly have going into your credit score, they will break it down for you. They'll show you how it's positively or negatively impacting your credit score. And this website allows you to generate 3 reports annually for free. Obviously, you don't want to generate the 3 reports one after another. So you obviously want to spread it out throughout the year. And again, these are all free websites that you can use to review your credit score and your credit reports. Moving on to something you want to consider after graduation, you want to make sure that you're staying appropriately insured. A lot of students usually stay on their parents' insurances while they're in college or in school. But after graduation, you want to start considering that moving off of that, or if there's different terms where you can no longer stay on your parents' insurances. You want to make sure that you're keeping yourself insured, whether that's through health and medical, business, renter's insurance, life insurance, and long-term care. You never know what might happen. So you always just want to make sure you're protecting yourself first and you're staying insured in case something does ever happen, because a lot of things happen unexpectedly in life. So you want to make sure that you're just staying properly insured. And just to reiterate our services again at our center, we have the one-on-one appointments you can book through Starfish, the group presentations like this one, as well as a variety of other ones. And we have these in webinars form on our YouTube channel if you want to check them out. We also have the self-study modules that will be put into your Canvas if you choose to do so through our website. And again, this isn't a course that's going to affect anything related to your academics whatsoever. This is kind of just a knowledge tool for everybody to use for free. We have the mentoring program where you'd be paired up with an alumni from Penn State that's most likely in the field that you want to go to or within the business and financial field, and then kind of be a peer buddy and a friendly face for you that you can go to on a variety of topics. And then we also have the workshops that are the small hands-on group experiences that you can also enroll in now. And they can focus on budget, how to create your budget, how to manage your credit card, how to understand like your credit reports, all that fun stuff. So I just want to say thank you guys for having me present today. And before we get to a Q&A, I do have a QR code for you guys to scan. So if you guys could scan this QR code, share your thoughts on this presentation, and feel free to sign up for our listserv, which will keep you informed about any upcoming events that we have at our center. And just to reiterate, my name is Alice, and this was the after graduation presentation. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Alice. That was a great presentation. I know I learned a lot. So if you guys want to send any questions you have either through the Q&A or through the chat function, you can do that now. We do have one question for you. Was asked, how do you access the budgeting link that was on the slide with the pie chart and the budgeting resources? I don't know if you would just want to send that link like through the chat or something.
Yes, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go on our website. Yeah, so if you go to our financial literacy website, let me go on there right now, just send a link. We have all of our resources on that website. So if you go onto the financialliteracy.psu.edu and you click in the about section for resources, I'm just going to send this link. We have a bunch of different links that are helpful for anything that you could potentially want to work on. So if you click on the link that I sent in the chat box, you can access our budgeting sheet. We even have worksheets for credit and debt management, your housing options, student loans, meal plans, all that fun stuff. Yeah, and like feel free to use anything on our website. And we are also a free resource to all students, regardless of whether you're an alumni or you're a current student. So you can use our resources at any time.
Awesome. Any other questions that people have? I'm just gonna quickly throw in the chat.
So this isn't a question, it's just kind of a general rave about your office. So I know I used the financial literacy office when I was in grad school here, and you all are fantastic with the amount of resources that you have. I cannot recommend you enough with like the workshops and the online resources as well as the one-on-one. So I very much encourage everyone to use you all. And I think, Alice, you are all available to alumni too?
Yes, we're available to alumni, current students, faculty, and staff. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I think that wraps it up today. Thank you again, Alice, for joining us today and giving your presentation. And thank you to everyone who joined. Be sure to look out for the recording on YouTube later if you want to go back and watch. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.